In the previous lesson, we explored the perfection of wisdom, the profound understanding that sees reality as it truly is. We learned that this wisdom is not merely an accumulation of information, but a direct realization of the nature of existence. In this lesson, we will examine why ordinary thinking alone cannot reach this wisdom. The Heart Sutra points toward a way of seeing that goes beyond concepts, opinions, and mental labels. This does not mean that thinking is unimportant or that reason should be abandoned. Rather, it means there are dimensions of truth that cannot be fully grasped through thought alone and must be experienced directly. From the moment we wake up each day, the mind is constantly active. It judges, compares, analyzes, remembers, and anticipates. These abilities are useful and necessary for daily life. They help us solve problems, communicate with others, and navigate the world. However, the same mental processes that help us function can also limit our understanding. The mind often mistakes its descriptions of reality for reality itself. It becomes attached to ideas and assumes that its interpretations are complete and accurate. Imagine reading a detailed description of a beautiful garden. The words may explain the colors of the flowers, the fragrance in the air, and the sound of birds singing among the trees. Yet no matter how accurate the description may be, it can never replace the experience of walking through the garden yourself. The description points toward the garden, but it is not the garden. In much the same way, thoughts can describe reality, but they are not reality itself. Wisdom begins when we understand the difference between the map and the territory. Most people spend their lives interacting primarily with their mental maps. They form opinions about themselves, assumptions about others, and expectations about how life should unfold. Often these mental constructions become so familiar that they are mistaken for unquestionable truths. When reality fails to match these expectations, frustration and disappointment arise. The perfection of wisdom invites us to loosen our attachment to these mental maps and encounter life more directly. The mind naturally labels everything it encounters. A sound becomes pleasant or unpleasant. A person becomes friend or stranger. An event becomes fortunate or unfortunate. These labels help organize experience, allowing us to function efficiently in a complex world. Without them, everyday tasks would become difficult. Yet labels also simplify reality, reducing rich and changing experiences into fixed categories. Consider meeting someone for the first time. Within moments, the mind may form an impression based on appearance, speech, or behavior. Once that impression is formed, future interactions may be filtered through it. We stop seeing the person as they are in the present moment and instead relate to our idea of them. If the initial judgment was inaccurate, misunderstanding follows. In this way, labels can become barriers that prevent deeper understanding. The same process occurs within ourselves. A person may label themselves as successful, unsuccessful, intelligent, inadequate, strong, or weak. Over time, these labels can become part of their identity. Yet identity is not fixed. Human beings are constantly changing. Skills develop, circumstances shift, and perspectives evolve. When we cling tightly to labels about ourselves, we limit our ability to grow and adapt. The Buddha taught that suffering often arises because we mistake these mental constructions for permanent realities. We become attached to our opinions and defend them as if they were part of who we are. When someone challenges our views, we may feel threatened or offended. Yet what is being challenged is often only a concept, not reality itself. Wisdom allows us to hold our ideas more lightly and remain open to deeper understanding. A useful analogy is that of colored glasses. If someone wears blue-tinted glasses, everything they see appears slightly blue. They may forget they are wearing the glasses and assume the world itself possesses that color. In a similar way, our beliefs, preferences, fears, and expectations color our perception. We often see not reality itself, but reality filtered through the lens of our conditioning. Consider a cloudy day. One person sees disappointment because their outdoor plans are disrupted. Another sees relief because the cooler weather brings comfort. A farmer may welcome the rain that nourishes crops, while a tourist may regret the lack of sunshine. The weather remains the same, yet the experience differs dramatically. This demonstrates how much of our suffering or happiness comes not from circumstances alone, but from the interpretations we attach to them. The perfection of wisdom encourages us to examine these interpretations carefully. Instead of immediately believing every thought that arises, we learn to ask whether the thought accurately reflects reality. This questioning is not meant to create doubt about everything, but to cultivate awareness of how the mind operates. Meditation provides a practical way to develop this awareness. When sitting quietly and observing the mind, we begin to notice a remarkable fact. Thoughts are constantly changing. One moment a memory appears, the next moment it is gone. A worry arises and then fades. A plan for the future emerges and dissolves. Thoughts come and go like clouds drifting across the sky. At first, many practitioners are surprised by the sheer volume of mental activity they observe. The mind jumps from one topic to another, often without conscious intention. This observation reveals an important truth. Thoughts are events occurring within awareness. They are not the awareness itself. Just because a thought appears does not mean it must be believed, followed, or obeyed. Imagine sitting beside a river and watching leaves float downstream. You do not need to jump into the water and chase each leaf. You simply observe them passing by. Meditation teaches a similar relationship with thoughts. Instead of becoming entangled in every mental event, we learn to watch thoughts arise and pass away naturally. This simple shift has profound implications. When anger arises, we can recognize it as a temporary mental state rather than an absolute truth. When fear appears, we can observe it without immediately assuming that danger is present. When desire emerges, we can examine it carefully rather than automatically pursuing it. This growing capacity to observe without reacting creates freedom. As this freedom develops, wisdom begins to emerge. The mind becomes less dominated by habit and conditioning. We become less likely to react impulsively and more capable of responding thoughtfully. Rather than being carried away by assumptions and judgments, we learn to meet each situation with fresh eyes. A famous analogy compares concepts to a finger pointing toward the moon. The finger serves an important purpose because it directs attention towards something valuable. However, if someone becomes fascinated with the finger and never looks beyond it, they will miss the moon entirely. Buddhist teachings, concepts, and words are like the finger. They guide us toward truth, but they are not the truth itself. This is why direct experience is so important. Reading about compassion differs from genuinely feeling compassion. Studying impermanence differs from directly observing change in every moment of life. Learning about emptiness differs from realizing through experience that all things arise through causes and conditions. Intellectual understanding provides a foundation, but realization comes through direct seeing. The Heart Sutra teaches that true wisdom is not merely the accumulation of knowledge. Knowledge can fill the mind with information, yet wisdom transforms the way we perceive reality. A person may memorize countless teachings, but if those teachings remain only ideas, suffering continues. Wisdom arises when understanding becomes lived experience. As ordinary thinking becomes quieter and less dominant, a deeper clarity emerges. This clarity does not reject thought, it simply places thought in its proper role. Thoughts become useful tools rather than unquestioned masters. The mind remains capable of reasoning and analysis, but it is no longer trapped by its own concepts. In this lesson, we explored the limitations of ordinary thinking and the deeper wisdom described in the Heart Sutra. Thoughts, concepts, and labels help us navigate daily life, but they can also obscure reality when we mistake them for the truth itself. Much of our suffering arises from attachment to our interpretations, rather than from reality as it is. Through mindfulness and meditation, we learn to observe thoughts without becoming trapped by them, creating space for a clearer and more direct understanding of experience. The perfection of wisdom invites us to look beyond mental labels and encounter life freshly, moment by moment. Ordinary thinking can guide us toward understanding, but direct insight carries us beyond concepts into genuine realization. Like a traveler who finally reaches the destination after studying the map, we discover that true wisdom comes not from thinking about reality, but from seeing it directly. In the next lesson, we will explore what the Heart Sutra means when it says that Avalokiteshvara clearly saw, and why genuine insight differs from ordinary knowledge.